Hey guys, so today we will be talking about like the step-by-step process in buying a house in the UK. See guys, thank you so much for all the love in my house tour videos, and I've gotten lots of questions of people asking me, how did you buy the house? What was the budget? What did you do? Where did you find the house? All of those questions. I would answer each and every questions you guys have asked. But for today's video, all I'll be talking about is like the step-by-step process in buying a house in general in the UK. So that helps somebody in terms of budgeting, in terms of what their expectations are. So is there any other person to talk about this without the Mr. himself? Okay. So this one is the one who like again, I'm just behind him. He's the one who like literally did every single thing. So I just thought like he'd have to come in here and help us out so we can all learn. So if this is something you're interested in, keep watching. Babe, tell them to keep watching. Keep watching. Yeah, so we're going to take it in bullet points. So we're going to give you like bullet points and then talk through every single thing. So if you're planning to buy a house, if you're a first time buyer or you're a second time buyer, it's slightly different. But we're just going to talk about it in general, okay? So the first things first would be, babe, what would you say? That's the mortgage advisor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now talking about mortgage advisor, what would they do for you in buying a house?
I think is the first step when it comes to buying a house. You need to know what you can financially afford,
Yeah.
basically. And a mortgage advisor does that for you. They look at your incomings, outgoings when it comes to finances. They just have a quick chat with you, first off, to know the price of house you can afford and give you the options and possible lenders, for people who probably are living in diaspora and who don't have any permanent residency. Um, Different lenders have different criterias depending on your status, your eligibility status, basically. So a mortgage advisor does all this bit for you. I
Yeah.
think it will be anyone that wants to go into any financial commitment would be first would want to know what their situation is and want to also know what they can afford because it's a big financial commitment. So mortgage
Okay,
advisor
so
does
just
that for you.
basically what that means is that you need a mortgage advisor to just get you started, to just let you know what you can afford. As a couple, the mortgage advisor is going to like look at all your financial details to just help you and see, okay, what amount of house can I even afford before you even decide to go into that process. So that's just like a summary of every single thing about a mortgage advisor. We actually use on our second home, we actually use the same mortgage advisor, right? The same one we used for the first house. It's the same person we used, and he comes really, really highly recommended. It's not even sponsored in any way, but I'm just happy to share his details if anybody wants that because he's really, really good. He's like very patient. He knows he knows what he's doing. Okay, so like we did say, the first step is mortgage advisor. Okay, and then we would move to the second step. And second step now would be planning, right?
Yeah. I think with the mortgage advisor telling you what you can afford,
Yeah.
in our own case, it's our second home. So our first home had equity in it, which is a different conversation again. But that gives you the idea of how much deposit you're expecting. When you find out what your eligibility are,
Yeah.
it depends whether you can afford
Afford that or not.
10%
Yeah.
or 20% or whatever. So when that happens, then you start budgeting, knowing how much you have that you need to put down on a deposit. And also, if you're not a first time buyer, there's something called stamp duty. So
Yeah,
that
that one's
is
like a separate discussion actually. So that one
exactly.
is we're going into much details on that. But with the planning, just like he said, because they've given you like your financial capability. So in terms of planning, the next thing we had to do is now that we know what our financial capability is, what do we really want? Do we want a semi-detached house? Do we want a detached house? How many bedroom house do we want. Initially, we actually wanted 4 bedroom. The way we got this house is actually like a testimony, to be honest. But yeah, you have to actually figure out what you really want so that when it's time for you to start finding the house, it's not a problem for you. Like you know what you're looking for. It's not like the wind blows this side and you're going through this side. You already know what you really want, and that's why the planning stage is very important, which now leads us to the next stage, which is the budgeting. Okay, so just like you said, babe, in terms of the budgeting, like you talk about, we had equity in our first house, so which also helped us in terms of the deposit. Okay, so we had to use that to now know what we're now budgeting for in terms of like the house itself, which now also helped us to the next step now, which was finding the house. Okay, so there are different ways to find your house. um UK has so many platforms, right? So we used Zoopla. Which other
Yeah,
one did we use again?
right
So we
move.
used Rightmove.
Those are the two most common and popular
Yeah,
ones,
actually,
anyways.
yeah, actually,
Yeah.
to be honest, because I think
There
we
is
use only
also on
that.
the market as well. There is quite different
There are
ones,
different
but
ones.
Zoopla
Okay.
and Rightmove is the popular and common ones people use. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because to be honest, we actually just used two of them. Actually, I can't remember us using anything that wasn't Zoopla and Rightmove. That's where we were really looking
I
for.
mean, 80% of the time
Hmm.
they all recycle the same homes, the same houses, basically.
Yeah,
So
actually.
whatever you find on Zoopla or what other platform, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
find on Rightmove. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That I like the point you just raised. To be honest, you can use as much platform as you use, but we're just telling you what we use. We only use Zoopla and Rightmove. And I would just like to say, in terms of finding your house, you actually also need to be specific. What areas do you really want to find this house? Okay, like you really need to narrow down your search, that you know what you're doing. You're not just looking for house, like, oh, I'm looking for house and all of that. Like you need to know, where do I want? Do I want it to be in a location where had good schools? Like for us, that was like really big for us. Like we wanted a place that would have good schools, because we know that properties that are around good schools would usually appreciate. When we have kids, we would like our kids to of course go to good schools too. So that's some of the criteria that we use while finding a house. So I would say that is very, very, very important. So you truly, truly need to be specific about what you're looking for in the market. Okay. And then now you found the house. Usually the next step would be, would that be with the solicitors now, when you found the house, right?
it goes back now to the mortgage advisor again. When you find the house you're interested in and
Okay.
they've accepted your offer, whatever offer, try as much as you can not to over price the house because it's still gonna bite you when the lender say they're not gonna give you money because you
Oh,
overpriced the
yeah.
house.
Yeah.
But again, when you find a house, you go back to your mortgage advisor to inform them you found the house. They will prepare what we'll call mortgage in principle for you, depending on the lender they're advising you to go with.
Mm-hmm.
That document is what you're going to present to the estate agents who had advertised the house, and they are going to continue with the processes of now communicating with your solicitors. This is where the solicitors now come in.
Mm-hmm.
The solicitors will act on your behalf, having conversations with the seller solicitors as well.
Yeah.
At this point, the mortgage in principle shows that the evidence that you can afford this house, you can buy it, and you've done
Yeah. Everything just fits in.
your job, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
from there they start signing documentation with the solicitor. The solicitors first are going to do what we call searches,
Yeah,
to
on the property, actually, just to check, like in terms of floored, like is the property good? They do all the searches for you, isn't it?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a legal standard anyways. Normally, whatever, if you're buying a house and you get your solicitors involved, is their duty to make sure that everything about the house is declared to you, just to make sure that you're aware of what you're going into 100%.
Yeah.
That will take a while. For some people, for fast solicitors, everything
Like
is
that,
going to
this
take
part, like
about.
in terms of the solicitor guys, this part was the part where I dreaded this part. I don't know, didn't you dread it so much? Like I dreaded this part so much. Like our solicitor was, oh god, like it took time, and like it's just part of the process actually. And just to put it out there as well, the conversation we're having now is not for a new build house, okay? With the new build house, it's quite different because there are things about like the land and all of those things you need to pay. So just to put it out there that the properties we're talking about, even with our first home and with the second one now, they've all been old builds. We personally like old builds. We just feel like the materials are, I don't know, I might be wrong. We just feel like it's the materials are way better. Like we also feel like in terms of space as well, like it's
Yeah,
there.
statistically, old build is more spacious.
Yeah, more spacious actually.
And it's more, for some people argue it's more quality than the
I
new
feel like
ones.
it.
To
I'm
to be
not.
fair,
Yeah, I think the same way as well. Again, this is not shades to buying a new house. I mean, it's really perfect, but like we're in the market as well, and what I was seeing in terms of like the new. Because I remember the new build of 5 bed we saw. We have this new build of 5 bed we saw. It was good, but guys, it wasn't as big as this place. So statistically, I would agree that old houses tend to be bigger and more spacious. So if you are looking for something like this, then you might be looking for an old build,
I
okay?
think I think it depends on what you want as an individual.
Yeah, actually.
Structure is a big deal. You can buy an old house and remodel it and make it a new
I'll make it
house.
your new house. Yeah, I
Which
think
is
so.
what we usually would do. The previous house is also an
The
old house
same
which
thing.
we
Yeah.
remodeled, but because going to a new build is just something. There's
Yeah, not
something about
everybody.
it
We
for me.
don't. We're not really big on that. Anyways, we digressed a bit, but yeah, that's okay. It's part of the conversation. So that's also something you also need to figure out for yourself in terms of your planning. Do you want a new build or do you want an old build? So we just brought this up just because like the solicitor and everything we're talking about, but that's also something you would need to consider if you're going for new or you're going for old build. So that would be dependent. And then finally, in terms of the process, it would be on then like completion. We did talk about like the solicitors finding you, like, checking, doing searches on the property. We also had like documents sent to us where we would check again like all the things the house would come with and all of that. So you sign, you have like an agreement date, right? And then when the agreement date comes, or like the completion date in quote, you would then complete and then you can sign and agree like to pick up the keys. And yeah, it's just it with old builds, to be honest, I think is a bit more straightforward. The only thing is, with new build, I do know that there are here and there fees that you have to pay because they are, building it, especially when you meet the building at the point of like when it's still
Yeah, I
under
think it depends on
construction.
the stage where if you
Yeah,
see if you're buying already finished
new
new
build.
build,
Yeah,
it's
it's
still
different.
similar
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 to this
similar
one. Yeah.
to this situation. But if you're buying off a developer, that you're just buying per plot, and usually they would develop it in unique ways, but you just need to follow the process gradually, make your deposit, commitment fee, some people call it commitment fee, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
you still go inspect the property depending on what you want them to do for you, or the remodifications you want in your own property.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's a
Again, like with
different
that, it's just
conversation.
different, really. Yeah. So it's a different conversation. It would just be on how you'd like to, go about it. Well, yeah. So, guys, that's it for now. I hope that really helped you in terms of like the step-by-step process. If there's something you want us to go into more, like we did talk about like equity, with the equity in our old house, it also helped us. If you want us to talk about like how the equity went through, we're happy to also share that. You also have stamp duty. So with like second home buyers, this is something I didn't mention. So with second home buyers, you would have stamp duty. And guys, that money is not cheap, okay? But yeah, that's something about being a second home buyer that is crazy. But yeah, we're gonna talk about that in another video, because I'm going to do another video where you'd have like hidden costs in on buying a house, like all those small costs, okay, that would add up to something that people don't really talk about. I'm going to talk about that in the next video. And guys, don't forget to subscribe. Babe, tell them to subscribe.
Don't forget to subscribe,
Like,
like, and
share,
share.
turn on your post notification. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for all the love again. And I can't wait to see you in my next video. Okay, bye.